Hey everybody. It's 2:30 in the morning, thereabouts. My parents showed up this weekend to celebrate my birthday. Surprise! So my living room bears the aftermath. So so it's a mess. That's how it goes. But I'm glad to see them. They live 5.5 hours away. So. Okay. This is admittedly going to get pretty dry. Okay, because I'm going to go over a bunch of legal stuff. And legal stuff is boring. But that's just how it goes. Because somebody doesn't understand the legal stuff. And we're going to try to help them out. That's just how it's going to work. Before I get started, it's just how it's going to go. Somebody said that thought that I only talked about them to make money. And when I pointed out that my channel's not even monetized and I have my own job and make my own money, they then said they didn't care how I made money. Girl! You just said that you thought I only was around to make money off you. I told you the truth and you don't like the truth? That's inconvenient for you? Don't say it if you don't like being confronted with the truth. At that exact same moment, they also asked how it wouldn't be harassment if someone was streaming their content. That's what brought this on. This is how it's not harassment if they're streaming their content. It's not harassment if they're streaming their content and it's fair use and you try to copyright strike it anyway. Then you're in the wrong. And this person also doesn't seem to have a very strong grasp of what fair use is. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Oops, I thought I killed the notifications, but apparently I didn't. Thanks, Facebook. We might be hearing some beeps. So anyway, I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be an attorney. I've been a mod for an attorney for approaching 3 years. And so kindly follow Nick Ricada on the Ricada Law channel if you want a lot better grasp of copyright law than I could ever give you. He has quite the backlog of experience on that and on a case I'm going to talk about in very brief detail at the end of this. Now, straight from the Copyright Office's webpage, Section 107 of the Copyright Act, and I have to read this, I'm sorry, I just don't memorize the Copyright Act. I'm sorry to disappoint anyone with that. Dang it, Locomai, quit beeping. Says that certain types of uses of copyrighted works are acceptable without previous permission. Those are called fair use. Some of those include criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And there are 4 factors that a judge may consider when evaluating a question of fair use. The first is by far the most important. That is the purpose and character of the use. That includes whether the use is of a commercial or a non-profit nature. That obviously means, did the person make money off the use of it? So, if the channel were to stream content and they didn't make any money, there's a pretty good chance, not a perfect chance because nothing is ever 100% in the world, but there's a pretty good chance that the judge is going to lean toward fair use. If the channel's monetized and earning super chats, might lean toward the other way. There's this also is covered under what is called transformative use, meaning, did the person take that content and do something to make it something else? Do they add something new? Give it further purpose? Do they give it different character? And is this use not simply a substitute for the original use of the work? So essentially, they're not just taking it and say just simply replaying it. That's pretty self-explanatory. So if they're talking over it, or if they're stopping it every few seconds to give commentary, that's going to lean more toward fair use. The second point is the nature of the copyrighted work. A more creative or imaginative work, like a novel or a movie or a song, is going to be less likely to support a claim of fair use than a factual work, such as a technical article or a news item. So don't be just taking like a poem or a novel and just rewriting it. Obviously. But the second piece of this is kind of juicy. Use of an unpublished work is less likely to be considered fair use. But that gets into the juicy question of, is YouTube considered a publisher? Traditionally, social media platforms were considered platforms, not publishers. But in some recent legal decisions, Facebook fought to be considered a publisher. And YouTube strikes content like a publisher. And a savvy attorney could make the argument that YouTube is a publisher. Now, far be it from me to go through all those arguments. I have no intention of going through all those. I would like to go to bed at some point. But there's some food for thought. Now, point number 3, the amount of the original work that is used and the portion therein. Obviously, if you use more of the original work, it's less likely to be considered fair use. But sometimes you could even use the whole thing and it could be considered fair use. It's a case-by-case basis. And other times, you might even use a very small portion and it would not be considered fair use if you've used what is considered the most important part, or what is considered the quote-unquote the heart of the work in question. And the fourth point is the effect of the use of this item on its potential market or its value. They review whether and to what extent the unlicensed use harms the existing or future market for the copyright owner's original work. That's not to say, does using this harm the market for the owner, say, meaning does ridiculing the owner hurt their future profitability in their career? That's to say, does using this to this degree harm the future earnings for this one thing? Especially if it becomes widespread. Will the owner be able to profit from their one thing anymore? And all of this is, of course, varying in circumstance, and I wish I could say that there are any set rules, but ultimately everything is going to be a case-by-case basis, and it can even be a judge-by-judge basis, depending on how the judge feels that day, how good your attorneys are, anything like that. And before anyone gets anything twisted, I'm going to talk about one case that is probably pretty important if certain people happen to be watching. Back in November 2016, Akilah Hughes had a channel on YouTube called Akilah Obviously. She also at some point finagled a TV deal with Comedy Central. But she made a video called We Thought She Would Win. It was about a little under 10 minutes long. It was about the Clinton-Trump election and the aftermath and what she thought of it. After that, Sargon of Akkad made a 2-minute video called SJW Levels of Awareness, which was 2 minutes long, comprised of clips from her video spliced together with no commentary whatsoever. She sued for copyright infringement, and his defense was fair use. During the course of this legal battle, he, I believe, did a GoFundMe for his legal fees. She did some rather unfortunate things, which included admitting on Twitter that her true purpose wasn't to defend her copyright, but actually to bankrupt him. And she called him a white supremacist, called his supporters white supremacists. Oopsie. That's a big oopsie. In the end, after a 4-year legal battle, the judge ruled in favor of Sargon, found that the title and the selection and arrangement of the clips themselves constituted fair use. They were the commentary. And the judge ordered Akilah Hughes to pay Sargon over $38,000 in attorney's fees. Even though she had a deal with Comedy Central, she started a GoFundMe for her means to pay them. Excuse me. Now, someone probably should think long and hard about bringing a lawsuit when all of these claims are countered because in every stream I've been in that has streamed one of this person's live streams, each one has provided what I consider to be ample commentary to make it transformative and something of its own worth. Then again, I'm not a judge. If that person is willing to roll those dice, or pull the lever of that slot machine, we'll see. After all, they're strong but they're exhausted. But they aren't too exhausted, are they? They keep on just filing those claims. Let's be real. They're not strong. They're seeking attention. However they can get it. Their detractors know it. Their subscribers know it. They planned it. They just ran a true crime stream that was running a view count of over 1,100 in chat for the duration. And they were fine. And suddenly, they got to the drama channel. And were beaten down and dejected. This person also said that, quote unquote, none of them would have a channel if it wasn't for me. That's odd. Because there's a channel attached to every YouTube ID. Every single one. Does this person authorize all YouTube IDs on the platform? Who started that rule? Is this person that vital to YouTube now? One of this person's panelists came in with the backhanded compliment while they were down in chat and told them, "You're so much more than any of them will ever be in every way." I was like, oh geez. Christiane coming in with the fat joke. Ooh. Now. And then this person really got up there and said, "I can't just get on here and talk." Girl, that's all you do. That is all you do. That is literally all you do. Okay, this was just not going to be as long as the other night. But in closing, I'm going to talk about this. Several people have been asking me to call her Tasha Turdstain. and I have avoided it. I was going to do it because we all know that her turtle was so ticked after the last stream I did here with commentary that she pinched off the head. However, for something more colorful, I went to Urban Dictionary and looked up turd stain. And as it turns out, they have a definition for turd stain, and it is a kid that lives in Utah and does nothing but work at Walmart and play on his computer. The alias of turd stain is also a common gaming name among this person. Now. Does Tasha really live in Utah? Has she been in Utah this whole time? And we didn't know it? I got my eye on you, Urban Dictionary. You haven't steered me wrong before. I think I'm gonna go with that pinched off turtle head poking out. That's it. Until next time.